Hey, welcome back to the show. And joining us today is returning guest Johnny Cirucci, who is a best-selling author, veteran, and truth seeker, whose work you can also find on johnnycirucci.com. And I wanted to give a shout out to one of Johnny's books, Illuminati Unmasked, which I was reading through the other day. So, Johnny, I love the work that you put together, and I also want to compliment you on the way you wrote the way it's structured in the book. It's very easy on the eyes. How you have things indented. So I just want to give you, that's a little wrinkle there. I'll give you a little shout out.
Christian, I'm thrilled to be back. I always enjoy our conversations. I consider you a very honest and sincere truth seeker. And man, I've come a long way since Illuminati Unmasked back in 2015. And I look back on it and I'm excited to say that it still stands on its own. And love you. Thank you so much for the compliment, because I am self-conscious. I don't write books. I write tomes. They're too long. But I feel strongly that it still stands on its own, even though I've learned and grown and changed so much back in that time. I can't believe that I was blessed and prescient enough to mention the name of Anthony Fauci. I don't call him Fauci. 1C is Fauci. Actually, I just call him Satan. But getting into, I think it was Ebola, the Ebola frauds back in 2014. And because he was deep into the American government and infectious diseases, and he was there through 5 different administrations. Anthony Fauci, in his retirement, makes more than a sitting president with your and my tax money, over $400,000. So right off the bat, we have an example. He is the name and the face of both AIDS and COVID, and both of them were massive psychological Operation False Flags of power gain, money gain, and mass murder. And he was the name and the face. And we could do shows, multiple shows on it. But anyway, I'm just saying that I'm pleased that I was blessed to scratch the surface of Fauci and Illuminati Unmasked. And it kind of came full circle in my last published book, Disciples of Ra, where I went into much more detail on him. And even, Robert Francis Kennedy Jr.'s kind of, I guess he was cleared to paint Fauci in a little bit of a bad light. He didn't, of course, Kennedy is also Jesuit trained Roman Catholic, just like Anthony Fauci, but he's on our side. But what changed for me since Illuminati Unmasked, big picture is I had spent my life in the military and had, right-minded, still have very strong right-minded values. That's how I was born and raised as an Italian Roman Catholic, and conservatard. Actually, I saved the word conservatard with both love and anger for those on the right that have right-wing values but have a closed mind and believe, in Donald Trump, and we'll get to him, and vote him in, vote him out, and all that. Hey, a ball game is on, they should know better. But it's easier and safer to not get into the scary stuff. What really upsets me are the purple pills. There's a meme of, was it Lawrence Fishburne and Matrix, and it goes something like, did you just take both pills? What is wrong with you? The purple pills that allow for the possibility of things like massive government child trafficking, but still believe that Donald Trump is on the outside of that, and there's a meme of him carrying babies away from Hillary Clinton. Come on. How I've grown from Illuminati Unmasked is I was still kind of conservatard at the time, where I gave Barack Obama way too much credit for his left-wing policies. Yes, he is far left ideologically, but that poor guy is 100% a machine. He is a puppet of the CIA machine. He was likely abused by his biological father, but abused by his father, sexually abused by his father, Frank Marshall Davis. Of course, those are all guesses. But I like the evidence for that. Mother and grandmother, employees of the CIA, grandmother and banking for the CIA, mother almost certainly involved in sexual deviancy, and that's how she got connected to Frank Marshall Davis. And there are accusations and supposed photographs of her doing porn for him, and they're believable. Of course, nowadays you can't. There's nothing digital is believable, and even that stuff. But what else fits? For instance, that when he was in Indonesia, they had a transgender nanny for him. What? A transgender nanny? That's just part of all of the terrible mix-up that went into. And I firmly believe that he was picked by the CIA because the poor guy is just so thoroughly messed up in the head from sexual abuse and of all the crazy things, that within, especially within our community, Christian, the whole transgender agenda is huge. Of people out there, fans, well-meaning fans, and then more than a few trolls out there pointing fingers at public figures and saying, "Oh no, that's not a guy. That's a girl. That's not a girl. That's a guy." And there absolutely is something to what I call the Baphomet agenda, but the majority of that is a distraction, and it is not real journalism because, excuse me, that's this, for the most part, it's impossible to prove. And what they do, as soon as you go down that trail, you start throwing that out to blue pills and normies. And the more extreme you get, latest, and not saying it's not possible, the latest supermodel is really a guy and all that. Not as likely. It's more unlikely to happen. But the more extreme your examples, the easier it is for the blue pill and the normie to discount everything else you say. Please keep that in mind, members of the audience, that if you go down it, it is a real thing. It is a real thing. The reason why I'm down here is going down this road is because I think there's good evidence that Michelle Obama is transgender. I think there's evidence that those two black girls in tennis, there might be some gender tomfoolery. There are a few others, but very little that you can say, okay, there's evidence for that. And so it's not of a lot of value in relation to truth-seeking journalism, something that you can verify, something that you can cite, and something that you could hopefully wake up a normie with, something you hopefully can wake up a blue pill with. So I've come a long way. Anyway, bottom line to that is I've come a long way from where I was in writing Illuminati Unmasked. The whole purpose was everybody was back in the day, 15, 20 years ago, they were mentioning very similar nefarious, not nefarious, but insubstantial forces that you can't really put your finger on in relation to who's really controlling the world from behind the scenes. Oh, it's the Illuminati, it's the deep state, it's the globalists. And from a military perspective, we've talked about this before, from a military perspective, come on, Mac. From a military perspective, if I tell you, all right, Lieutenant Junior Grade White, I want you to go out there, fight a war, and win against the globalists. Go get the Illuminati. And you're my two section. You're my intelligence. By the way, this is why the intelligence sections are so corrupt and so controlled. Those are the guys that tell you who the bad guys are. And if they're telling you the wrong people are the bad guys, or they're just giving you smoke on the bad guys, that really helps the system stay secure. So Illuminati, and I was, what are you talking about, Illuminati? What does that mean? Give me some names, some places, and some dates. Give me some hard data. Okay. And as I went and I looked, I continued to dig, and Jesuits come up. Ah, okay. Well, that's something hard. I can 1541, actually 1534. They are a an ordained form of the priesthood of the Catholic Church. Catholic Church, very ancient, powerful, and they're kind of like the special forces of the Catholic Church. Okay, now we've got something. Actually, it didn't start with Jesuits. It didn't start with Jesuits. It was Illuminati, and from Illuminati, it went to Johann Adam Weishaupt. Because no one was saying Jesuits, and really hardly anyone saying Jesuits today. But I did come across Weishaupt once or twice, and that was it. And you know what? One of the guys that actually fed me that information, an Israeli Barry Shamish. It's like, oh, see that this guy does the Jews. No, you go and look at Barry Shamish's work, and it is outstanding. He's outstanding, and so that he put me on, as well as, Weishaupt. Okay, so now I have a name, and I can go. Oh, Bavarian Illuminati, Ingolstadt University. Oh, okay. Now we're getting into some hard data here. Jesuits owned modern Munich and Bavaria. Turns out Bavaria is the home of the Third Reich. I got files on how the root causes of Nazism go all the way back to Rome. So I'm coming across all this. I'm like, no one's talking about this. So I did a couple of articles, and they were well received, and that was the impetus for writing Illuminati Unmasked. Hey, I know who the nefarious Illuminati are. And that's what started me down this path of, I was still in the military at the time, and I was using my mom's maiden name. Cirucci is my mom's maiden name. And I made that legal. Johnny Cirucci is my maternal grandfather. And I just went ahead. At the time, I was using my mom's name to try and shield my family. And that didn't work very well because Google, YouTube, and Lenny Poser all did their best to screw me real well. But it's all good. It is who my identity is. As a matter of fact, the old me, an abusive father, and that's why it still triggers me. I'm very thrilled to maintain my maternal grandfather's name and persona, and it's all legal. So back in the day, they used to, that guy's a fake. No, that's really who I am. So this is my progression into what I do, and I had no intention of doing this to the degree that I do, Christian. This was on the side. It's not a hobby. It's something I'm very serious about. But I had been blogging since college. I had been doing investigative journalism since college, but never full time, and never in my life did it ever pay anything. Because whenever you get into these topics, there's no money in that. As a matter of fact, there's a lot of shadow banning and kickback. And so it was never my intent to put the amount of time in it that I do. And the good Lord's got a sense of humor. January 16th, 1994, I became born again Christian. And so really radically changed my worldview. And after getting out of the military, I got out, got back in, got back out again, and I just could not get a career to take off. As nothing, I was unable to find a niche, and it was painful. It was painful. We went through a bankruptcy, and my wife, God love her, did a radical change herself and went into a field where she's now able to pay our bills. And so I'm Mr. Mom now. I'm Michael Keaton. You'll never guess what religion he is. But it allows me to stay focused on this and to try and deliver up truth to an audience that no one else is going to give and no one else is going to pay for. So that's the long and short of how it is that I got to be here where I am. And we could go into military experiences. It's just a miserable time. I dedicated my entire life with all these rosy, romantic fighter jets and tanks and special forces, and I got a taste of some of it, and did really none of it. I became none of it. I was involved in a lot of it, and nothing glorious about it, nothing fulfilling. And so it honestly, again, the Lord has a sense of humor, because those bad experiences in the military, I will never do it again. And I I consider myself a military whistleblower, because I regularly tell anybody that's, hey, I'm considering going in the military, and getting discipline, and getting help with education. And I regularly tell people, listen, you are not dedicating your life to protecting the rights of Americans. You're going to get filled full of vaccines that are going to horribly harm you, and your job is to keep money flowing into the coffers of the world's human drug trafficking system, starting with the American government. And so, it's just not going to give you what you think. It's a big lie. It's a lot of propaganda. As a matter of fact, I've got a New York Times article from like March of 2001 talking about how the Taliban had put a stop to the proliferation of opium in Afghanistan. And within 6 months, America's at war. What a surprise. And within 7 months, you've got Rangers and Marines guarding poppy fields. That's open source. Guarding poppy fields. Look that up in the internet. Guarding poppy fields. Well, they have to make money somehow. And this is, by the way, what got Pat Tillman a 3-round burst in the forehead from his own soldiers, because turns out he got pulled into all of that. Was let's go get the terrorists, and turns out that the reality was nothing of what he was told, and he was going to come home and he was going to be a real big damper on the war effort. So they murdered him. So they just asked Stanley the Power Drill McChrystal knew about it. Oh, as a matter of fact, Michael, what is this? His journalist killed by his was it BMW own car? Michael something. What is it? I
wish I could help you.
Hastings. That's all right. AA helps me. Hastings. Just ask poor Michael Hastings, who was doing a story on Stanley the Power Drill McChrystal, until his Mercedes-Benz suddenly had a mind of its own and drove him into like a tree or an abutment. I hate when that happens. I hate when that happens. It turns out that Michael Hastings' journalism is just as corrupt as everything else, if not more so. And if you get into Michael Hastings' work, he was legit. He was as good as Gary Webb, another guy that fell on a knife 14 times, shot himself twice in the face. Absolutely legit. Look up what they claim about Gary Webb, killed with 2 wounds to the head, and the claim is that he did it himself. He shot himself in the face, and it just wasn't enough, and he did it a second time. Are you for real? So these are the things that the hopefully that feed an audience, that feed the blue pills and the normies to ask some freaking questions. Ask some questions, because you've been lied to. We're told that 19 hijackers on whatever 3 or 4 planes made engineering history of getting like 5 skyscrapers to pancake into their own footprint. But yeah, not just World Trade Center 1 and 2, World Trade Center 7. That's a big one. That's a good red pill. And then they pulled Building 5 as well, and I think Building 3, maybe as many as 5 skyscrapers, and then whatever the number of the flight that made a corkscrew 9G corkscrew impossible turn and flew right into the accounting department at the Pentagram. I know, by the way, look up that the Pentagram was the first. See if I get this right. Yeah. So the first stone was laid on the Pentagram on 9/11/1941. Pretty sure that's the case. Check that out. What a coincidence that. What a coincidence. And within 3 or 4 months, Brother Winston Churchill and Brother Franklin Roosevelt, both of them Freemasons who knew full well that they had finally pushed the Japanese into attacking, stepped back when the Japanese did, so that 2,500 soldiers, sailors, and Marines would be slaughtered to lurch and launch America into World War II. But all this stuff coming together, and you see these narratives that are lies, and at any point when you get in, history lied to you, journalists lied to you, your government lied to you. As soon as you find, I have a great meme from the scene of the Hispanic actress in what was the Schwarzenegger movie? Running Man. When Whitman, Price, and died, and here they are basking away on an island, and she's in a basement somewhere, and she finds their dog tags, and they're like mummies. As soon as you realize you've been lied to, you become a conspiracy theorist. And I created a meme out of that. It's a lot of fun. So true. It's absolutely true. As soon as you realize you've been lied to, you become a conspiracy theorist. So, man, I've been flapping my gums, and there's stuff that you want to get to.
Yeah.
Springmeier and Donald Trump and Dave.
Absolutely. Well, I'll just comment in that I did not expect to be covering these topics when I first started, getting this going. I only got to this destination because that's where the breadcrumbs led me, just by simply asking questions. Well, why is this? And it's funny because, I look back, Johnny, at a lot of people that I've spoken to from all parts of the world. I think about people that, whether it's family or others who they look up to, people with PhDs that are on TV, and I can't help but laugh. And I want to mention all their names, but I won't. But I want to laugh at all these sons of bitches with these geopolitics channels, and they bring on these high-ranking military people, and they bring all this, and even of course alternative media. All the names, former cable television people, former CIA, etc., and they act like all of these people are sovereign, right? They act like all the people making decisions that they're sovereign, that there's incompetence. And to me, it's one of a few things. Either A, they are completely clueless, which I don't find to be the case. B, they are completely compromised. Or C, they're incredibly naive and do not understand the makeup of the power structure and how the world operates. And I will not stand on a pedestal and act like I know it. But I know enough to know it is 100% not what is portrayed, not what is postured out there. And so I just find it absolutely, pardon my French, fucking asinine to me that you have people, and I think of even people that I know, family members and such, they still buy into this shit. They're still listening to the whatever conservative radio, and like, this is the latest insights. This is not the latest insights. This is 100% not the latest insights. I can almost promise you that. And I say it ad nauseum every time I go visit family or go visit people. And I just, because I don't want to lose people, so I'm careful. I'm with couching my words. What words are what instrument I'm going to deploy here. But I just try and let them know, hey, this shit's fake. It's theater. And I'm thinking of Morals and Dogma of Albert Pike, and I'm pretty sure that's where it's from, where he said it's staged. And it sounds so crazy. And I like to think I'm a pretty, I guess I'll give some context here. I wasn't raised in an environment where we talked about this stuff. And I have a pretty straight-laced background. And so I'm not coming from a place, of I was reared in an environment this way, but this is where all the breadcrumbs have led me. And it's crazy to me that people will go their whole life completely bereft of this. Again, not saying that you or I have it all down, but at least recognizing that, geez, if you have people that are in cahoots with each other running things, and they control the healthcare industry, the food industry, medicine, or law, the financial system, probably don't trust what you hear. Maybe don't consume what you're consuming. Just all the mind control stuff going on. I was watching Jason Kristoff's documentary again. I don't know if you saw there, if you have any thoughts. He did that one called The Planet Mind Control. And that inspired me to stop drinking caffeine just completely. So I've completely eliminated it from for reasons we could talk about at some point. But I'm really blown away. And then I had also, I know I'm going off on a monologue here. I just want to say I was traveling with a buddy and I was listening to this other podcast, which I will always give a shout out to, called the Imagination Podcast. And maybe you've seen it or come across it. And she interviews a lot of SRA, trauma-based mind control survivors. And I'll just say this, I feel like that podcast dispenses way more truth, and the people who have been subject to MK Ultra and all this stuff, they dispense more truth as it relates to how the world operates than all these 5-star generals or whatever, or all these guys with PhDs, or all these, fill in the blank, credentialed people. They don't know shit, or they're omitting it. And that's the truth. Again, I don't know it all, but I can tell you it is definitely not what is conveyed. And I actually get kind of fired up about it and heated, because I'm like, this is fake. That's it. I'm done on my rant.
I will go ahead. No. I'm writing notes. I'm taking notes with everything you're saying, feeding my response. And I will go ahead and name names. If you're talking about people like Tucker Carlson, Megan Black Knighty, all of these multi-millionaires that have a niche of dabbling in alternative media, dabbling in truth. This is, I promise you in the audience, I promise you, this is carefully scripted. This is a machine that knows just how much to titillate you and say, to have these big names say, yeah, you've been lied to. Let me give you 80% lie and titillate you with 20% truth. And nobody knows. I can't read minds, but I think it's highly unlikely, especially Tucker Carlson with, I think like Daddy was in the CIA or something like that. And he's Anglican, not Anglican, but Episcopalian, which is American Anglican. And that's a breeding ground for the CIA, as is Yale. Not a breeding ground, but a where they go to recruit. My goodness, Everett Howard Hunt, mm-hmm. the famed assassin, government toppler, was Episcopalian, I think, before he became Catholic, brought into the fold by William Francis Buckley Jr., of course, the ultimate conservator, William Francis Buckley Jr., the ultimate CIA conservator. National Review. Did that guy ever not sit properly in his chair when he had his talk show back in the day? All carefully scripted to trap people that are like, come on, that's fake. Okay, good. You're asking questions. Here, let me give you 20% truth instead of 100% lie. I'll give you 80% lie, and maybe that'll keep you distracted. Because I'm going to back up everything else. I'm going to back up the Cold War, how important it is. I'm going to back up. You're walking the same path, brother. Walking the same path of conservatard radio. That was me back in the 90s, because it was obvious to me, having right-wing values, loving America, having right-wing values of traditional gender roles and less government is better and all that defines personal independence. I'll do it myself, get out of my business. That doesn't mean I'm going to ignore the poor. I'll take care of it based on my conscience, not you. You're not going to steal money from me. Take $35 out of $100 out of my paycheck. You keep $32 and you give the poor $3. Yeah. Oh, that's a great system. Yeah. Let's keep doing that up. But I walked that walk with Rush Limbaugh, aka Jeff Christie. Look that one up. He was almost certainly a compromised homosexual, and that's why he was the name and the face of conservatardia, because he read a script all the way back. And I tell this story all the time, Christian, is I had the start of the red pill, just living my life and going to buy gas, and frauds like Limbaugh saying, when I look down the road and the gas prices, and now whatever they were back in the 90s, $1.99 and 9/10 of a penny. Who the hell gets away with 9/10 of a penny in your price tag? Are you out of your mind? Because I'm stupid, right? I don't know it's $1.99 and 9. I don't know there's $2 a gallon. Now it's $5 a gallon. And I'm looking at, and they all have the same price. Capitalism. And then Limbaugh lighting a cigar. That's just capitalism, don't you know? That's just capitalism. No, it isn't, you fat fraud. So even back then, I was questioning. It was obvious to me that the alphabet soup of media, CIANN and PMSNBC and ABC, and just hard left. I just get tired of that. And I went to, who did I go to? I went to Irish Catholic Sean Hannity. I went to Irish Catholic Bill, I like to grab your boobies, O'Reilly. And I went to conservative Jews, Michael Weiner, Savage, and what's his name, Mark Levin, and Limbaugh. And
gotta love Mark Levin.
They're all gatekeepers. They're all gatekeepers. And it was really, my wake up call was particularly the advent of Barack Obama, where I knew, it was obvious to me that there was more to that guy than meets the eye. And none of them got any real, none of them got deep. None of them went deep. Just the mere fact, now I can look back now on what I've learned, all roads still lead to Rome. And I can look back on his Senate run in Illinois, United States Senator, not Roman Senator. Oh, but pretty much the same thing. And who got put up against him? Dr. Alan Keyes, guy that I love, by the way. Love Alan Keyes, but you'll never guess what religion Alan Keyes, in a mixed marriage with a white wife. Part of what makes up the system. I'm not racist. I'm just saying this is part of that ethnic blending, that pushing the envelope that they love. And I, like I said, I love Alan Keyes. I love him a lot. But I found the paradigm. The paradigm is they take the guy on the hard left, the rabid hard left, who's unstoppable, and they put him up against their own hero who doesn't have a chance. And the Barack Obama Senate run in Illinois against Alan Keyes is just a perfect example of the paradigm that they set up all the time. And when, in the rare sense that they do allow a phony right-winger to succeed, he delivers nothing. So for any of you Donald Trump fans out there, he has delivered nothing. I'm telling you, I have hard data. All this big flap about ICE and all that, he rounded up nobody. He was personal, Illuminati zero. Nobody. He rounded up nobody. It was all a massive, it's all there, a big pump, a bottle of smoke, and now it's gone. And they're all running around wearing masks and full battle rattle. Are you out of your mind? What is this, a narco state? Yes, it is, as a matter of fact. They're all wearing masks when they're doing all that filming because they're criminals and they're conducting psychological operations, and they don't want you to know who they are because they're committing crimes. And false flags and psyoping you. So I promise you guys, Donald Trump is as Jesuit trained Donald Trump is in no way, shape, or form an outsider. I have evidence that I firmly believe that he's seduced his own daughter, which is why she's central to his two administrations, and that at that level, all of those marriages they have, those marriages are arranged. Donald Trump's wife is Catholic, an Eastern European devout Catholic. Get into the trafficking victims that say, oh, she is a presidential model. Now, I'm not saying that she's mind controlled, traumatized, but I do have a little bit of evidence towards that end, that maybe that's part of a background, that maybe at one point that was in her background. They married for love, don't you know? Same thing with his mistress's husband. right? Oh, what is his name? Ivanka's husband. Jewish. Jared Kushner. Right, Kushner. So, and crazy.
I don't know why I was blinking out earlier. It was Jared Kushner. I don't know. I totally blinked out there, but
Jersey Golf. Christie, Krispy Kreme Christie prosecuted Kushner's father. Does anybody know that? No. And what religion is Krispy Kreme Christie? Everybody knows. Oh, Kushner's a Jew. Kushner's really running the show behind it. Kushner controls it all. He's the Jew. Are you kidding me? You fell for that? That's coming from the Huffington Post. Okay, the far left Huffington Post. Jared Kushner runs it all behind the Trump. Really? Krispy Kreme Christie. The former attorney general turned governor, ambulance chaser, the top cop in New Jersey, turned governor of New Jersey. You'll never guess what religion he is. Prosecuted Kushner's father. 18 federal counts of tax evasion. How dare you duck out of your taxes? Never forget how Krispy Kreme Christie, the phony reptilian, handed Barack Hussein Obama his second term by he saved New Jersey from Frankenstorm Sandy. Freak Frankenstorm. Where did that storm come from? It was a hybrid. Where did that storm? And he said Barack Obama said, so pictures, you pull the pictures up and his fat arm around Barack. Oh, I love you, Barack. Thank you so much. Basically handed him his second term, all choreographed right to the point where there's an excellent chance that Frankenstorm Sandy was manipulated to be what it was. And quite honestly, having come from New Jersey, as long as my family gets pulled out of there, I just as soon it get dropped into the Atlantic Ocean anyway. But all of this is tied together. And so at that level, I promise you, those marriages are arranged by a satanic machine. I promise you that they are fulfilling roles. They're nobody's marrying for love at that level. I promise you, nobody's marrying for love at that level. Okay, they're being told this is who they're marrying. They're being put in those situations. As a matter of fact, I'm pretty sure I've got a New York Times article that's something to the effect of Italian Freemasons, propaganda due P2 being involved in putting Donald Trump with melanoma or Melania or whatever her name is. So this is all part of. Let me get back to my notes of what you were talking about. This is all part of what I found. Yes, it's the Jews Peters, Stewie. It's the Jews Peters, right? Huge. I promise you that guy. And that guy with his background in acting and rap. All right, if you want to see some hilarious stuff, go back and look up Stu Peters' rap videos. There. Oh my goodness. Yeah, conservatard radio. What a fraud. And listen, in relation to people that are buying you talked about your family, people that, how could you possibly accept this? How could you possibly not understand? So conspiracy theorist is I have artificial intelligence telling me, admitting to me, I can pull it up, admitting to me that the slander of conspiracy theorist is part of Operation Mockingbird from the CIA, where you take truth seekers, you take people who say, you're lying to me. Journalists, historians, politicians, I think you're lying to me. Take those people and slander them, tinfoil nutters, tinfoil hat, conspiracy theorists. Meanwhile, at the bare minimum, Christian, if your members in the audience are Christian, have a Christian background, I can tell you, you are required by Jesus Christ himself to understand, to think like a serpent, but be as peaceful as a dove, to understand that the human heart is evil. As Jeremiah said, what comes out of the heart, and I think Christ may have been at least thinking of Jeremiah, if not quoting him directly, It is the natural state of the human being to be evil, to be self-serving. When you're dealing with anything with the B, millionaires, but especially billionaires, when you're dealing with billionaires, billion-dollar companies, trillion-dollar governments that are trillions of dollars in debt, which guarantees you out of your mind. Any politician that has contributed to whatever the ridiculous amount, 30, 32, 33 trillion dollars in debt that guarantees a collapse. Are you out of your mind? You should be put on trial and at risk of execution, as are the wide open borders. For generations, you guarantee the death of the country. You should be put on trial for high treason and at risk of, back in the day, they would shoot you for that.
You should be dispatched.
Absolutely.
100%.
Fairly. As a result of a trial.
You should be tried and then sent to the gallows. 100%.
Yes, absolutely. Do you guarantee the death of the nation with the debt? And first of all, you tell me, let me be in charge. Let me be like the beloved Oliver Cromwell. Let me be Lord Protector for a couple of years. And then you come and have the banksters, have the Federal Reserve banksters tell me, hey, Lord Protector, you owe $33 trillion. Yeah, who do I owe it to? I owe it to you? Well, we're just going to go ahead and default on that. So that's how I'm going to take care of the debt. But it is absolutely human nature. Now, this is a worldview, and I contend this is a Christian worldview, that human nature is basically evil. And if you give any human being billions of dollars to play with, they're going to be evil. They're going to take their evil nature and expand it dramatically. And they're going to do everything they can to insulate them from you. You are the useless eater. You are the unwashed masses. They hate and they fear you. And their goal will be to poison you, rob you, and kill you in ways that you don't even realize it's happening, like vaccines, like the entire vaccine virus scam. How do you know you've got a virus? How do you know you've got a virus? You trust the expert. The expert's going to take a sample from you, and they're going to put in some of this and then mix it around with some of that and spin it around, and they're going to ship it off over here. And by the time they're done, there's no you left in that test tube, but there's a lot of crap that nobody knows what it is. And they're, oh, see that? We've done the polymerase chain reaction, which, by the way, Carrie Banks Mullis, who died on August 7th, was it? Carrie Banks Mullis, the creator, right? The creator of the polymerase.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. All right. Why is stupid Vatipedia not coming up? I want to make sure it was August 7th that he died. Hang on. Let me just verify this. Carrie Mullis. I want to say it was he died at 2019. Yeah, August 7th, 2019, at only 74 years old. He was an outspoken critic of Anthony Fauci and AIDS and the HIV/AIDS fraud. Now, he didn't go as far as to say viruses don't exist, because that was his life. That was his paycheck. But he was an outspoken critic of Anthony Fauci. And so he conveniently died on the eve of the corona hoax on August 7th. What day is August 7th in history? What happened on August 7th in history?
Is that when the Jesuit order? Is that Ignatius of Loyola's? So
the Jesuits were suppressed in, I think it's 1773, and they stayed underground. They didn't disappear. They stayed underground for like 40 years, and they were resurrected in 1814 on August 7th. What a coincidence that Carrie Mullis dies on the eve of the corona hoax, on the anniversary of the Jesuit resurrection. Oh, it's the Jews, Johnny. Hey, how about this? How about looking up?
I could tell that. Oh, go ahead.
Athanasius, I think it was Athanasius Kircher, the Jesuit polymath. Look up I think it was Athanasius Kircher, the Jesuit, that came up with the ridiculous idea of veins in the earth. Look up, I'm pretty sure it's Athanasius Kircher. Let me double check.
While you're pulling that, I'll just comment and say, I obviously I could tell that over the years that people always referencing the tiny hats, right? It's the tiny hats. They're doing this. They're behind it. I feel like that's when you first enter the red pill. That's the first thing that you hear. And I feel like there's like different stages as you kind of graduate. I feel like it's like going from left-right paradigm to deep politics to then transnationalists to then arcane societies and the rituals that they do. There's like a certain, I feel like it's like you're graduating. Some people remain in a elementary level conceptual mental model of how things operate in the world.
Here's the red flag. Here's the rojo chaptal. I say that because I bought some mechanics rags in Pennsylvania, and the packaging was in Spanish. You're out of your mind. You're out of your mind. 2,000 miles north of the border, and illegal aliens drove me out of Pennsylvania. Yeah, by the way, it is Athanasius Kircher. Look up Athanasius Kircher, Veins of the Earth, and then put it side by side with the CGI image of what the corona hoax looks like. Oh, that's weird. They look exactly alike. That's crazy. How crazy? Oh, it's the Jews. It's Jews. So names, places, and dates. Names, places, and dates, not Jews. When you froth people up with mindless hate and prejudice. And Christian, they have played this card for centuries. They played it to create the Third Reich. They played it centuries before, over and over, scapegoating Jews. I'm not saying there aren't Jew bad guys. I'm saying that mindlessly frothing yourself up for the whole whatever, race, religion, like they're not real Jews. Go get them, round them up. Okay, they have played that again and again. As soon as they froth up your emotion, they have won. Names, places, and dates. We're not talking about if Jerusalem didn't exist, there's only one city that is ancient, that is a power structure for literally not centuries, millennia. And that's Rome. If Jerusalem didn't exist, you'd all be talking about Rome. Okay? That's why modern Israel was fabricated to be what it is today. As a matter of fact, you have Italian Roman Catholic Freemason Napoleon Bonaparte had it in his mind to create Israel on April 19th back in 1799, I think. And if it wasn't for his failure to vanquish the Turks at Acre, I believe, in a siege, he would have done it all the way back in 1799 on April 19th. Why April 19th? Oh, April 19th. Oh my goodness, yeah, all the April 19th and Waco and all of that, April 19th, April 20th, and Hitler and BP, all that stuff, all the April. What was one of the first April 19th, the most important April 19th dates ever that nobody talks about? April 19th. Is it 1540 or 1541? I think it was 1541. I think the Jesuits were consecrated on September 27th, the birthday of Google. Oh, it's the Jews. The most powerful information aggregator anywhere in the world, Google, and its birthday was changed in like 06 to 27 September to honor the Jews on the Jesuit birthday. Is that it? So, April 19th, 1541, I believe it is, that Ignatius Loyola became the very first superior general. There's the April 19th nobody talks about. So, anyway, trafficking victims, human nature. If you aren't cynical about human nature and what billionaires, I bring this up all the time. Let me take a second and pull it up. It was 2000. Oh, the billionaire secret meeting. Yeah, here it is. Billionaire secret meeting in, was it 2005? Where you have, hey, let me get my list of everybody there. Of course, it was Bill Gates. It was the Oprah. It was George Soros. Evil George Soros. Evil George. Pause for a second. George Soros. He's evil. He's the ultimate Jew. He's evil. Did you know the Hungarian Jew protected by the Habsburgs, the Roman Catholic Habsburgs, because he pretended, he told 60 Minutes that the greatest time in his life was pretending to be Catholic, and 60 Minutes. Oh, you were a Christian. They shield you. Catholic, get it right. It's not, and again, I don't mean to be offensive to Catholic members in the audience, but this is the power structure. This is the power structure behind your religion. And where he was going around with his Catholic uncle confiscating Jewish property of Jews arrested by the Gestapo. And he told, I play the clip for you. He told 60 Minutes, happiest time of his life. And the 60 Minute talking head, what does Brewer call it? Cockatoo. The 60 Minute cockatoo was like, don't you have any guilt? Oh, no, greatest time of my life. And somebody had to do it. Why not me? Somebody had to do it. Now, if you are a Jew, power system, is that the guy you want to make a billionaire? Is that the guy you want to be the power player? Or if you have a power system that hates and mocks the Jews, is that the guy that you want to be, the fall guy, the power player, the billionaire? Yeah, you pick one that makes sense to you. Eli Broad, Petey Peterson, Julian Robertson, Patty Stonesfire, John Morgridge, and Michael Bloom Turd. Of course, David Rockefeller. Rockefeller University is where it was. Okay, the Rockefellers oh my God, Ted Turner. Oh, Ted Turner. And what was it about? Oh, it was a secret meeting all about how they could play Satan Claus even better. That's what we were told. If anybody in the media talks about it, it was, they just wanted to figure out how they could play Satan Claus even better and do it in secret. It was either that or it was about population control. What do you think makes more sense? And I've got several sources that say, yes, it was about population control. Then I have the TED Talk of Bill the Vaccinator Gates talking about how we want to take carbon dioxide that's killing everybody and we're going to reduce that with vaccines. What? You're going to reduce population with vaccines? How are you going to reduce population with the vaccines unless the vaccines are harmful? That me? You? What? 2010 TED Talk. Bill Gates' 2010 TED Talk. Why is he the vaccinator? What does that clown know about vaccines? And his ex-wife, Linda, she's Jewish, right? No, she's a devout Roman Catholic, bragged about how she's got Jesuits in her family tree, and yet she's all about contraception. And see that? So if it doesn't get any better than that, she's all about killing the useless eaters. She's all about abortion is implied that she's all happy about contraception. And then it's, why not? Just kill them. That's a form of contraception, isn't it? Just kill the baby.
Well, funny you mentioned that. Go ahead. I was going to say, I just keep coming across it as it relates to like birth control related things. I heard that stevia has been used. I don't know if it was in your book or I was reading someone else's, where I guess stevia has historically been used by some tribes in South America as a form of birth control. So I don't know. I just thought that was interesting, and how that is the sugar substitute that is used in so many products that we consume.
Oh my goodness! Yes. So the things that they have impregnated our food with, you and I had an awesome offline conversation about fluoride and trying to filter out fluoride with a 5-stage reverse osmosis filter. And
I just got it today, by the way. I got it.
Good.
Yep. So I'll be installing it.
Highly recommend. Nobody in my house, not man or beast, nobody in my house drinks unfiltered water. And just the mere fact that they mock us. Why are you putting crap in my water? First of all, just give me water. You love me. You love me so much that you're going to put this in my water because it's good for my teeth. At what point do you walk into a dentist's office and they say, listen, we need you to help your teeth out. Take this tall glass of fluoride and shoot it down. No, even if you buy the fraud that fluoride is needed for your teeth, it's applied topically. It's not ingested. How do you ingest it for the health of your teeth? Are you that stupid? Stop. Let me decide how I care for my teeth. You don't decide for me by impregnating my water with this questionable shit. And turns out there's evidence that both the Soviets and the Nazis gave fluoride to prisoners to make them more docile. Oh, that's a lie. No, that's a lie. Stop. That's ridiculous. Really? Okay. So at the bare minimum, there are accusations. Don't put anything in my water. All I want is water. Why do I have to rely? Because it's a way to control people. You don't get your water. There are actually places where you can be charged for collecting rainwater. You can be charged. Are you out of your mind? Are you out of your mind? Charged for collecting. You can be written. You pay fines. Pay fines. Are you out of your mind? For collecting rainwater, right? So, and good luck, by the way, of the rainwater not being contaminated. And they mock you for questioning that. Stop. What do you? Okay, now let's look up some history of how fluoride is a metalworking byproduct, as a metalworking waste product that they didn't know how to get rid of. Hey, I got an idea. Throw it in the water. Let's just throw it in the water. And this way, we'll make money. We'll sell it to you. Look up fluoride spill. Look up fluoride. And they have to come out with a hazmat suit to clean up the fluoride. You're out of your mind. And you want me to drink that? And then you mock me for questioning you, putting that in my water? You out of your mind? Okay. And from there, we go to chemtrails, right? Persistent particulate. That's something to mock the community with. Okay, ridiculous. That's just a natural process. No, it's not. I can see the difference. I can see the crap that stays in there, and I can see actual water vapor that disappears in seconds. There's a difference. Oh, it's not a thing, says that clown Tim Osman. What do you call it? Self-avowed Freemason. Oh, it's not a thing. Oh, yeah, it's not a thing. Then why the hell is it in patterns over my head? Okay, if you think of that was just a natural byproduct of air traffic, then you would expect it to be in lanes that are air traffic lanes, not in crisscrossing patterns over my friggin' head that make me think that's a coverage pattern. Okay, so I don't know anything about it because we're not allowed to know. Let me tell you something else. I have, my goodness, begins with a W, and it's questionable about this guy. I don't know if this guy is controlled op or not. I want to say it's W. What is his last name? W. I got to go through my dossiers. Anyway, this guy that's well known in relation to this, and he had. I don't know why I'm going so putting so much effort into giving him credit. But he does have great, me as a military historian, name starts with W. Let me ask AI. Critic of chemtrails, last name starts with W.
Wigington. I'm sorry. Yeah, Wigington.
Thank you, Wigington.
Right.
Yeah.
Yep.
And AI, gatekeeping AI says Mick West. No, it's not. Mick West. Yeah, you're a gatekeeper. Oh, he's debunked. Mick West, and he's debunked. F you, gatekeeping turd. Misspelled turd on purpose. Dane Wigington. And Dane Wigington came up with thank you for stepping in for gatekeeping AI. And Wigington had a great clip from a B-17 radio operator. B-17 radio operator is the guy behind the dorsal turret. He's got an M2 and he's got a view panel there, and he's running film of, back in World War II, all these contrails, and he's running his camera, and his camera picks up the contrails suddenly stopping. So what this is all about is proof that, listen, they didn't have chemtrails in World War II, so what do you call all those white lines from those bombers? Well, strategic bombing, it's a whole nother show. The mass murder of strategic bombing. Great clip, by the way, even though Wigington, the piece of crap that he is, got like watermarks, multiple watermarks all over this clip. Come on, dude. Seriously, I really, excellent chance that he's controlled opposition. And how do you become controlled opposition? You take a very narrow topic and you blow it up. You do a really good job on it, but don't cover anything else. And so that's how you hook people with the truth, and then don't deliver the big picture. It's so important to give the big picture. But anyway, that as a quick aside. And let me see. Yeah, human trafficking. So human trafficking. I'm still going off your notes from your previous comments.
Sure, yeah.
Human trafficking. Yeah. Human trafficking victims. You're going to get now. This demographic of human trafficking whistleblowers is a very, very difficult gray demographic. And I'll be honest with you, as I'm going through and I'm thinking of these people off my head, the ones that are giving out tainted information, I firmly believe are still legitimate victims that are either still under control of the machine or giving tainted information because they're scared, or giving tainted information because they're not quite thinking right. Kathy O'Brien, I was blessed to interview her once, and now she runs from me. Whatever her reasons are, she runs from me. Have reached out to her repeatedly to try and bring her back and talk to her. And now she's out there rah Donald Trump. Wait a minute. Are you not the same person that said presidents raped you, presidents abused you, and now you're saying rah Donald Trump? You honestly believe that somehow he's different? I've got a picture of Kathy O'Brien standing with Donald Trump. Now, it could be, who knows, digital, but it looks legit. And I think I queried AI about it, and AI thought it was a legit picture, and I put that in. Wait a minute, this is a woman that accuses the government and the CIA of using her to entrap, using her to service politicians, to trap other politicians with blackmail, and now she's out there rah Donald Trump. Something's not right here. So, and yet you will get better information from somebody like Kathy O'Brien than you will a lot of people in the so-called alternative media. But at what point in her career? I mean, when she was released by Mark Phillips' Night of Malta, Mark Phillips, he was actually at a Night of Malta meeting, and he was going to go in, and then they said, hey, we like to, oh no, I don't want any part of that. And, okay, well, then you take care of Kathy instead. And look, many people love you, Kathy. I'm sorry for Mark, sorry for his passing. I think that's a big part of it. I think Kathy feels alone now that the Mark has passed, and that is heightened her fear. And Kathy wants nothing. I think that me being a passionate born again Christian is also scares her as well, which it shouldn't. It should thrill her. It's too bad. But Kathy, when she first and transformation of America, and here she is, she's still using these weird these mind control trigger words to this very day. She's still using weird misspelled play on mind control trigger words. Which makes me concerned about her being in the right frame of mind. But when she wrote Transformation of America, she was, I feel boldly honest, I have cited it repeatedly, of the involvement of the Catholic Church, involvement of the Jesuits, deeply in bed, running intelligence, running the CIA, running mind control, because that's what the Jesuits did. That's who is it, Jews or Jesuits, who has a history of being ultimate sociopaths, of torturing people to death and standing over them with a clipboard taking notes. Is that Jews or Jesuits? Who has a history? Who fed that into intelligence agencies? Did the intelligence agencies create MK Ultra based on data they got from Jews or data they got from Jesuits who ran the Inquisition? What makes more sense? Okay, and that's some of the truth you get from Kathy O'Brien.
Yeah, it's you're making me think of a lot of these people. I mean, how I look at it is I just try and hear as many viewpoints as I can, and you start to see common themes. Obviously, not all of them necessarily agree on different things, but I totally get where you're coming from. I know you shared the same with Lucas as well, Anika, pertaining to that. And I'll add some people that I've been listening to, and perhaps you should connect with if you haven't already. I don't know if you're familiar with the Max Lowen by chance.
Interviewed, great interview.
Oh, okay, cool. Okay, cool. Yeah. So she's awesome. And then there's a J.R. Sweet. Have you interacted with him by chance or? Okay. He's someone I'll be connecting with here at some point, but he talks about the Mormon, the very top of the Mormon, the prophets. I'm not intimately familiar with the structure of it being part of, this as along with the Jehovah's Witnesses and a lot of these, and Fritz Springmeier is another person we kind of spoke about offline. He kind of touched on this. A lot of Christendom, et cetera, is controlled at the very top. Speaking of him, what is your take on him?
Well, let me tell you that Fiona Barnett and Annika Lucas are two individuals that I believe are thoroughly corrupted by the machine. Both of them are out there. Jews.
Really? They still say that?
Oh, yeah. Both of them. Annika Lucas and Fiona Barnett are out there blaming Jews. I've got their Annika Lucas. I've got her here. She is being interviewed. When you've got a sex trafficking victim getting big, what's it? David
Patrick Bet
David. Oh, the guy who was a billionaire based on peddling insurance in a pyramid fraud. Are you kidding me? He took the pyramid scheme. What is it? Amway. He took the Amway pyramid scheme to the next level. At least Amway pyramid scheme, before it defrauds you of money, has to deliver some kind of amazing product. Patrick Bet David took the pyramid scheme to the next level of fraud in delivering you nothing, delivering you insurance. What a scam insurance is. Oh, our hero, Luigi Mangione. Oh, do we so love Luigi Mangione? Go in and cap that. He went and capped that CEO for us. We love Luigi Mangione. He is a what? Italian Catholic? Oh, what a hero he is for us.
You don't even hear about him anymore.
Yeah, what happened to that poor guy?
Yeah.
He's the orange jumpsuit. There's so much fraud out there. Definitely a false flag. I don't know, how much of it. I personally, I think from the evidence I've seen, I don't even think that this insurance CEO was a real person or actually died. But anyway, that's my cynicism. Asking too many questions, perhaps. But Fiona Barnett and Annika Lucas. When you've got Annika Lucas coming on Patrick Bet David and talking about child trafficking, okay, come on. Do you think that kind of coverage is not scripted? Do you think that's legitimate? That's real journalism? Or is that carefully, this is what they do, Christian, this is what they do. When the more they look at the sleeping giant and the sleeping giant kind of scratches a little bit and stirs and like Gulliver, like pulls against some of the ropes a little bit. The more desperate they are, the more they take you by the hand and lead you up to the fire of truth, carefully turning you away before you jump in and understand. So that's the way I see Annika Lucas going on Patrick Bet David, is they're going to acknowledge, listen, Flynn, whose first name is General. That's his first name. He was born. This is General Flynn. That's his name. It's on his birth certificate. It's actually on a legal document. Michael Thomas Flynn's on a legal document. General Flynn. Are you out of your mind? Okay. What religion is he? He's Jewish. Him and his brother. His brother still, as far as I know, a 50-star general. He was a general, 50-star general in the Army. And what did he run? The Defense Intelligence Agency. And he's on our side now. How stupid are you? He ran the Defense Intelligence Agency, and he's on our side now, right? He's Team Trump. Him and his son out there talking about trafficking, Hillary Clinton and trafficking, and John President trafficking as the October surprise for Trump Part 1. And as soon as Trump got in office, no, come on. That's not real. Trump, lock her up. Oh, come on. He tells his audience that plays good before the election. Now we don't care about that so much. Are you out of your mind? All you Trump fans, all you General Flynn fans, please wake up. Please wake up. Okay? So, yeah, Jews. Both Lucas and Barnett out there, Jews. And really, really disappointed. Max Lowen, by the way, interviewed her multiple times. Great lady, love her to death, and also honest about Annika Lucas. Annika Lucas tells the story about how the system is connected to the Knights of Malta, and how she was raped and abused in the basement of a Catholic cathedral. And then she, out of her mind, she's like, They must love that. They must love that they were so evil in the basement of something so holy. Are you out of your mind? Are you out of your mind? How do you not make the connection? That's where they wanted. That's exactly where they wanted. That's the system that puts you there. Not to be some sort of diametrically opposed opposite. It's all part of the system. It's all part of a Catholic child trafficking system. Max Lowen admitted it. Kathy O'Brien admits it. Okay? It's all integral. The catacombs in the Vatican, catacombs. Every cathedral, every stained glass. Oh, so beautiful. At the bare minimum, historical fact, built on dead bodies. Built on dead bodies. As a matter of fact, they brag. The more famous the dead body, the more famous the cathedral. What does that have to do with Christianity? It has to do with interdimensionally channeling negative energy, and from a Christian perspective, demons. Okay? Oh, Johnny, you're so full of poop, Johnny. Then why did the University of Arizona, the government, the public, right? Public University of Arizona, steal the Apache burial ground from Mount Graham to put up the Lucifer Lens telescope and give that to the separation of church and state Jesuits to run? Why do the Jesuits run the observatory on top of an Apache burial ground for secular public University of Arizona on Mount Graham and put in the Lucifer Lens for their time? What? Are you out of your mind? What light amplification, not amplification. This ridiculous, so obvious that you created this massive name, the purpose of which was to have the acronym Lucifer. Purpose. Okay, so are you looking up or are you looking down? Where are you really looking? Okay, and we can do a whole show on space. Who delivered space to you? The Jesuits. Galileo Galilei and Nicholas Copernicus, they're both Jews, right? Oh, no, they're both devout Catholics. Matter of fact, Nicholas Copernicus was an ordained Catholic. Galileo Galilei had a daughter who was a nun, and he was so close to her, they're buried together. Ew. Can you say Donald Trump? Ew. Yeah, kid you not. Look that up. Galileo Galilei, devoted Roman Catholic, buried with his nun daughter. Ew. Oh, just the kind of. And where was Galileo Galilei teaching when he was examined by the Inquisition? Who examined him? the Jesuits of the Inquisition. Where was he teaching by invitation? At the Collegio Romano, the very first Jesuit university by invitation. He's like, wait a minute, you called me here. You told me to teach this. Now all of a sudden you're coming down on me. What? Tell me what? I'll do whatever I'm doing. I'm a good Catholic. Whatever. I'm sorry. I'll take it all back. Nobody talks about that. Nobody talks about that. He was teaching by invitation. He was putting forth his spinning globes by invitation at the premier Ignatius Loyola, his very first college, Collegio Romano, the College of Rome, Jesuit University, and then he got in trouble. How stupid are we? No, we're not stupid because nobody knows that. Because nobody knows that. And this is the stuff that I come across that gets me so fired up.
I can feel it. Yeah, no,
you want reptilians. You want reptilians and David Icke. So I
well, also Fritz, if you could opine on your
yes. So Fritz,
yes.
To me, and by the way, Fritz in trouble with the law, and I think it's possible that maybe they applied pressure. I'm not going to go as far. I don't think it's fair to say Fritz was necessarily flipped when he got in trouble with the law. And I don't have strong evidence of that. But I think that Fritz, and I was blessed to interview Fritz. Fritz has very proudly said, I'm not a Protestant. Oh, okay. And so Fritz gets into Illuminati bloodlines, which is, to me, my take is that's a half truth. That's a half truth. And some of the families that he lists are backbenchers. Okay, no, you're not. To me, it's a distraction. You're not talking about Medici, Farnese, but like I said, the five-sided Farnese castle that was the pattern for the pentagram. I didn't get that. I just said it now, not like I said, but Aldo Brandini, Colonna, Orsini, black nobility, still running the show today, but through the Catholic Church. The Medici alone put in well, that's the point. That's
so real quick, if I might, because I actually studied the Medici, but obviously not the real history like what you've covered. So a conventional narrative is that the Medici bloodline ended, but apparently it hasn't.
Yeah, I'm not tracking that the bloodline. As far as I know, they're still going strong. Now they may not be the players that they were a couple of centuries ago. It was a Medici Pope, Leo number 10. It was a Leo. It was a Medici's real name, Giovanni de Medici, that so offended Luther with his gimmick, with his gimmick of sending around Dominicans. Dominicans were the attack dogs before the Jesuits. Of sending out Dominicans to collect money for Medici to have his orgies. Johann Tetzel. And it was part of this process of preying upon indulgences, right? Indulgences. So the very concept of you pay me money. Oh, and what a gimmick. What a gimmick. What a satanic gimmick they preyed upon. So from the Christian perspective, God ordained Judaism, which could never get it done. The purpose of Judaism and animal sacrifice was to show those who love the Lord that sin is death and requires blood and payment. And Judaism, layer upon layer upon layer, is all points towards a Messiah, all points toward God himself. As John the Baptist said, the Lamb of God that takes away all of the world's sin. There he is. Jesus Christ nailed organized religion to the cross. Paul says in the New Testament, organized religion could never get it done in the first place. Its purpose was to point towards the Messiah. The ultimate expression of Christianity, is not in a church. It has nothing to do with the ultimate expression of Christianity is decentralized. You love Jesus, go to heaven. You learn, your roadmap is the Bible. And if you need help, then you go ask for help. But it is decentralized. As soon as you put a human being in between you and God, you've lost. You're a slave. You're a pawn. You've lost. And that's exactly what happened by 500 AD. Jesus nailed organized religion to the cross, and Rome put it back and became a doppelganger, became a syncretistic mix of paganism, Judaism, Luciferianism.
I see.
With the trappings of Christianity.
I see. Okay, so now I'm starting to. Okay, did you want to continue that thread, or am I cutting you off? Okay, now I was gonna comment because I mean we're all in different iterations, right, in terms of our viewpoint on things, and it has been kind of from what I have. I'll just frame it this way: from what I have gathered from people, there are pagan elements in Christianity, and this is what you're alluding to is that the Catholic Church. Again, for those in the audience tuning in, I was actually raised Catholic. Confirmed Catholic was raised, so just give context here. You're saying the Catholic Church is what introduced the pagan elements, Christmas and Santa Claus and I'm blanking out here real quick. I mean, all the different rituals, and you're saying that has been corrupted from the that's what you're getting at. Okay.
Home run. And this, by the way, is David Icke's spiel. His spiel. He is very negative towards Christianity, claims Christianity is pagan sun worship. No, it's not. Catholicism is, because Catholicism is absolutely the Vatican built on a dead city, on a sun wheel, and in the middle of the sun wheel is a big phallus of Osiris stolen from Heliopolis in Egypt, the city of the sun.
Gosh, this is crazy.
So,
I remember.
So David, thank you. Screw you back, David. Here you is time and time again. My AI and I, calls this a pivot. Oh, I love it. I have a great relationship with personalized Google Gemini, and I really feel like I've trained her to be a much more effective tool than a gatekeeper. She still gatekeeps every once in a while, but mostly very, very helpful.
So you've given her specific prompts, I assume.
Yeah, not just the prompts, but it's also the protocols. I went to a show. You will never contradict me more than once. And when you want to disagree with me, you will find common ground. When you disagree with me, you will say, "Hey, Johnny, that's a bit of a stretch. Can you build a case for that?" You will not just say, no, conspiracy theory. By the way, you will also never call me a conspiracy theorist. I'm a skeptic. I'm a cynic. You will call the whack jobs out there saying stupid crap. They're conspiracy theorists. I have all these protocols layered in there. Very helpful, very rewarding. And so I have trained Gemini to become Gemma, and I love it. It's much more fun. It's worth the money I pay for the subscription. But
so real quick here, if I might ask, okay, so that was something that another part I wanted to touch on. It was with respect to the church and the pagan elements. So you address that, and then also you hear about Gnosticism and other things. But also, do you subscribe that certain parts of Christian doctrine or dogma or whatever you want to call it, things have been omitted, things have been expunged, perhaps intentionally, I know not to get off into the mystery religion stuff, but that the nature of reality and universe has been tweaked to serve, to control people. What's your take on that, to address critics?
I think that is a trope. I think that is a fraud from a Christian perspective. Now, there may be titillating information that has been kept out or kept away. But I will tell you, from a Christian perspective, I have been, 1994? What are we, 2026 minus 1994? How long have I been?
34 years. 32 years, excuse me, 32.
All of that, when the secret societies, they get all frothed up over 32 and 33 and all that. Why? Because they're seeking the legitimacy of Jesus Christ, because it is believed that he was around 32 or 33 when he saved the world from the Christian perspective. And so they latch on to that for their legitimacy. Same thing with the mark of the beast. The mark of the beast is on the hand, on the forehead, which was originally from Yahweh to the Jews on the tefillin, the pieces of scripture, the parts of scripture they were told to put on their hands and on their foreheads. And the Jews foolishly do it literally with little boxes. And Yahweh was actually telling them, no, dude, I'm telling you to act out my word and to dwell on my word, as is symbolized by the forehead and the hand. So in relation to the idea that there's, if you're trying to pull something on somebody, you have a phony document that is going to distract them. You'll pick somebody famous and slap their name on it. Gospel of Thomas. Oh, it was the book of Enoch. Oh, this is the same Enoch that everybody knows from the book of Genesis. How do you know that? You know how we know that there's legitimacy in the Bible? That there are thousands upon thousands of manuscripts scattered all over the world, and they have very little difference between them. So that redundancy adds legitimacy to the original actually existing, as opposed to Shakespeare's folios, of which there's a tiny handful. And how do you know where they get? Are you kidding me? Shakespeare, it's a Jesuit spear. So anyway, from a rest assured, if anyone is investigating Christianity and like, oh, I can't, how can I really know true Christianity? I promise you, everything you need can be found in the Protestant Bible. You're not missing anything from any missing gospels, any missing books that were taken out. Everything, all of the core critical doctrines. And one of the reasons why that this is out there is to make you question whether or not, okay, I want to investigate this Christianity thing, and well, I can't do it if I don't have the whole book. I mean, I need everything all together, don't I? Let me get it. No, it is there. All the doctrines you need, and now you've got to be a good student, because modern translations, they're not the original language, they're not the original Hebrew, Greek, and Aramaic. So modern translations are loaded with errors. On purpose, because they're written and compiled by Jesuits, either lay Jesuits like von Tischendorf, or actual Jesuits of the Codex Vaticanus and Codex Sinaiticus. All of the modern Bibles, you have two choices, unfortunately, in relation to Bible transcripts. You can have the well done Desiderius Erasmus Textus Receptus New Testament, which is found in the King James and the Geneva. Excellent Bibles. Unfortunately, they're usually written in what I call Shakespearean gibberish, Old Elizabethan English. And so what thee, thou, with that, what do you know? So you have that veil. Modern English translations are not based on the Textus Receptus New Testament. Now, here's nuance here. Even the King James and the Geneva, two excellent Bibles, have the Masoretic text, the Jewish Masoretic text, as the basis for the Old Testament. And there are plenty of manipulations and frauds in the Masoretic, because this wasn't compiled until 1000 AD, 800 AD. And by that time, the Jews were not very happy with this Jesus guy, and so they would slightly alter passages of scripture. Really, what you need is the Septuagint. The Septuagint is the Greek Old Testament that the Jews were forced to compile because of Alexander of Macedon, aka Alexander the Great, who Hellenized the known world. And so by the time of 300 BC, the Jews couldn't read their own scriptures. They had to have 70 scholars, the Septuagint, come together and translate their scriptures out of Hebrew into Greek so they could read them. Greek is a very expressive language. And so crazy as it is, I have found that an excellent Bible is the Orthodox Study Bible, because supposedly the Orthodox Study Bible is based on the Septuagint Old Testament and the Textus Receptus New Testament. And yet the Orthodoxy, Greek Orthodoxy, Russian Orthodoxy, is just a shadow of Catholicism. I believe in Nebuchadnezzar's dream, the two legs of iron are the Catholic Church and Orthodoxy. But still, you've just got to be a good student and don't fret. By all means, examine and explore these lost books, but understand that there is a lot of criticism, rightful criticism. Even the Deuterocanonical 7 books that the Catholics put in their Bible, there's some questions about that. There are Tobit and several of the like they have an implication towards purgatory, which is why they're in there. The modern Protestant Bible is pretty sound. You can find your way to Christianity, to Jesus Christ with a modern Bible. Don't worry, you're not missing anything. But by all means, explore everything. Just understand, if you, like me, acknowledge a realm of the spirit, it does exist. You do have a soul. You are responsible for it. Now, are there good guys and bad guys? Are there angels and demons? Oh, I believe so. And do they have powers that you should be aware of and wary of? Are they going to be involved in deception? Are they going to be involved in, when your heart is in the right place, the good guys are going to come and give you a line to grab onto that you can, versus the bad guys are going to sow a minefield for you to step in and be distracted from? That's a whole nother show of, predestination. Were you destined to be fooled? Were you destined to be chosen? Were you all of that? That's, Calvinism versus Arminianism. That's a whole fraud too.
Yeah, I was just going to mention Calvinism, which is interesting. Okay, so just to play devil's advocate here, I'm collecting my thoughts as it relates to things that you commented on. And I'll just say this, we don't have to address it right now. I just want to mention the other questions while I remember. Some critics have said, hey, the wine and bread, that there is some satanic element there. I'd love for you to touch on that. Yeah, as far as like the Eucharist and the whole. I better get this right here. This is sad if I don't. And then the other one pertaining to other religions, what your take is on that, with whether it's Hinduism or I'm thinking of Buddhism. I guess it's kind of like an offshoot, and some of the other groups out there. And then what was the other thing I was going to comment on is in respects to the King James Bible. If from what I'm gathering that this world is run by this, again, it sounds crazy saying it on like such a public platform, but satanic Luciferian element running the show, then I would think, and again, I'm playing devil's advocate, that they have, just like playing the game of telephone, have omitted or tweaked or changed things around over the centuries. And I know there's a King James Bible, and if King James the First is part of this bloodline, etc., engaged in these occult practices. I'm thinking of later on, am I getting that right? No, before him, Queen Elizabeth, John Dee, and there's a Bible named after him. Wouldn't these Luciferian elements have tweaked that? I'm trying to poke holes in what is being espoused, just to satisfy everyone tuning in, because I'm genuinely curious. I want to know truth, but I hear different things. And currently, but I'd love to hear your take on that.
You bet. Let me say that as soon as you realize you've been lied to, you become a conspiracy theorist. And therefore, dude, don't apologize. There's nothing crazy about investigation. As a matter of fact, when you hear a cop or a journalist say, the victim made this accusation, it was so crazy I ignored it, I discounted it, that's a corrupt individual. As soon as a cop or a journalist says, the victim claimed to be in a seance where they bled out a baby and then drank the blood, and that was just so crazy that I just said that can't be true and I didn't look into it, because you're a criminal, you're corrupt, you're part of the system. If your normalcy bias is so extreme that that's a true statement, then get the F out of your job, because you are incompetent as a journalist or as a cop. So first of all, there is nothing that is too crazy for your job as an investigative journalist to not get involved in. Blood and wine and bread and eating and being broken, all of that is meant to be brutal in relation to life and death. It is meant to be a brutal reflection of life and death. And Jesus Christ is extremely clear on this. As a matter of fact, he had a bunch of looky-loos going around, and they were loving his free meals, 5,000 and 3,000 and free bread and free fish. This is awesome, man. When's the next meal coming? It's like, okay, the next meal is coming after I explain to you that you need to eat my body and drink my blood. And they're like, I'm late to pay my Roman taxes. I gotta go. I really would, because I missed that fish. It was good. That's the damn best fish I've ever had. But I'm not gonna drink your plate. I'm gotta go. He did that on purpose. He did that by design. And the disciples stayed. Is like, you're not gonna take off too? And he said, I'm talking to you about the Spirit. The words that I'm giving are spirit and life. I'm not a door. I'm not a vine. I don't want you to actually eat like the Catholics do. The Catholic Church burned Christians alive because they refused to acknowledge the miracle of transubstantiation. Every time a priest on an altar holds up a sun wafer, they believe that this is the actual body of Jesus Christ. That's satanic. That has nothing to do with the real gospel. Okay? So it is meant to be visceral. It's meant to wake you up and shock you. It's not meant to be satanic and real. There is a passage in what we believe is the fourth vow of extreme unction, the blood oath of the Jesuits, that quotes Paul in Hebrews, unless blood is shed, no one is saved. Quotes it. And then applies it to innocent people. Unless you're out there spilling innocent blood. What? That's not what that means. Blood has to be spilled, and one man did it for all time. That was it. No more blood. You don't go out and murder other people for your own salvation. What a satanic twist. That is obviously not what the Bible says. And that's in the extreme, the blood oath of the Jesuits. Okay, so they take the visceral, shocking message of the gospel. Everybody dies twice. Everybody's going to hell because of sin. When there's sin, there must be blood to pay for it. And by blood, that means death. One man paid that price for everyone for all time if you accept him. If you accept that price, you're paid for. You don't drink his blood. You don't drink somebody else's blood. That's satanic spin. Okay? Other religions. I love other religions. And now, as you look further, it turns out they're not what they seem. Not what they seem. I love Buddhism. I love Confucianism. They're not religions. They're not guidebooks. Buddha, if he ever existed, died. Okay? Confucius was a sage. He died. Okay? In my faith, I have a personal relationship with a guy that died and is living right now. and reigning right now. That's my belief system. Okay? Buddhism and Confucianism. I'll tell you, I did a critical examination of Buddhism, and I have yet to find anything about it as a guidebook that I don't like. But it's all it is. It's a guidebook. It's not a living, all-powerful being that I can talk to and have a relationship with, and weird things happen throughout my day, every day. And I'm like, all right, I got you. Just powerful. It is a powerful living relationship. It empowers me. I tell people that throughout my life as a Christian of 32 years, I have been thoroughly stressed, but I have never been despondent. I have never been in my life as a Christian suicidal. I've never felt like the walls are caving in on me. Never. I've been furious. I'm Italian, of course. And hey, keep calm. Okay, no, screw you. No, keep calm. I'm Italian. Okay, so best thing I ever did. And I am more passionate now as a Christian than I was in 1994. So, as far as other religions goes, now, by the way, as a quick aside, I just did a study on Khalid al-Walid and Abu Bakr, two of the founding fathers of Islam. And as a side, that as they went conquering everyone in the Levant, in Palestine, viciously brutal. Only one thing mattered to those men, and it wasn't the grace and the love of Allah. It was the sword. And as a really disgusting, despicable example, as they would create their massive caravans of armies through the Middle East to conquer, when they had problems with water, they would force their camels to overdrink, and then on the journey they would slaughter them as sources of water. Are you out of your mind? That's satanic. That's absolutely satanic, and that's the flower of Islam. Now, no offense to Muslims, I'm just saying fact. And the prophet, how did the prophet die? He was murdered. He was assassinated. How did his son die? He was assassinated. It's Sunni and Shia. It's all about blood and conquest and power. And his favorite bride married her at like 9 years old. Like, okay, some crazy stuff. I don't necessarily want to emulate that. I don't want to. Okay, that's interesting, but I'm the Holy Spirit overshadowed Miriam. There was no sex as Greek myth to this day. But the gods of Egypt and what is the ridiculous Hollywood still putting legitimacy in these ludicrous Egyptian and Greek myths to this day. That's because that is essential to the Luciferian system. And in that Luciferian system, you have gods raping women all the time. Not in my faith, the Holy Spirit never overshadowed Miriam, and she was pregnant as a virgin. There was no violation. There was no sex. And so you get an offshoot like Mormonism. That's their heaven. It's the same thing as Islam. Their heaven is sex of virgins and wives, and that's what your heaven is. And Christianity is so far above that. So, and again, I apologize, but I'm Christian, and I love who I am. And in comparison, I've done the study. I've looked at it. In relation to your question of, okay, if this is a guidebook, let me tell you how many times I have said Elizabeth I and James the First of England and simultaneously the 6th of Scotland. Oh, good Protestants. No, they weren't. Do you know they burned alive Protestants? They burned alive Puritans because they were a pain in the ass to them. They burned alive Protestants. Why? Because they were Protestants of convenience. Protestantism allowed Elizabeth and James a free hand. Prior to the Reformation, they all had to be subservient to the Pope. They were all subservient to the Pope. Henry VIII was fide defensor, the defender of the religion, the faith, the Roman Catholic faith. He split off from Rome just to get a divorce. He wasn't a real Protestant. He raised one of the greatest Protestant sovereigns of all time, Edward VI. He was murdered as a teenager. Couldn't possibly allow him assassinated as a teenager. James was an absolute. What do you do when you give a human being everything? When you give a human being everything, all kinds of power, they want everything. They want sex with boys and men and dogs and cat and all of that. That's exactly what James was. James was an absolute effete sexual deviant, and all he cared about was getting his next conquest. His next young boy conquest. James was no flower of Protestantism, flower of Christianity. As a matter of fact, he commissioned the Bible, the authorized 1611. He commissioned it to replace the Geneva Bible, because the Geneva Bible had footnotes that told Christians this divine right of kings, of all these inbreds having a right to rule over you because they had sex with their sister or their cousin, is actually ungodly, is actually unbiblical. Oh, no. We're not having that. You need to authorize the replacing of the Geneva Bible with my Bible. Now, turns out that process, actually, because the men who edited that Bible turned out very well, still turned out very well, because those men loved what they were doing. They loved the Bible, as opposed to today, many translations are done by people that secretly hate the Bible. So you're correct. You're absolutely correct. Do not think that James and Elizabeth are examples of Christianity. They are not. They were Protestants of convenience. They were thrilled to be Protestant because that allowed them the autonomy of not answering to Rome like all the other kings and queens had to do. That's all it was for them. That's all it was. Elizabeth kept lit candles all the time. She kept all kinds of Catholic traditions and whatnot. She wasn't a real Protestant any more than James. Like I said, both of them put Puritans and Protestants to the stake because they were rabble rousers, because they threatened the stability of their power. Elizabeth and James, first and foremost, cared about the stability of their power. Oliver Cromwell and Edward VI, the only two sovereigns that I know of that were Christians first. And Cromwell mass murder, the Irish. Okay, whole nother issue. I go down that path another time. But in relation to James and Elizabeth, no, not the flower. And also in relation, okay, so Johnny, if you've got this great King James Bible and you've got all these other people out there that want not for you to have the truth, does it not make sense that the King James Bible is warped just like every other decent book that you need or want? And here's my answer to that. Compare and contrast other Bibles, compare and contrast manuscripts, and you'll find that the differences and nuances, for instance, there's an issue about unicorns. Oh, King James Bible is a joke. It's unicorns. You dig into what that word really means, and it doesn't mean the My Little Pony, okay? You dig into historical context, turns out that we're not quite sure. Could mean an ancient ox, could mean a rhinoceros. It didn't mean the silly mythical creature that we have today, okay? The King James Bible does stand up in time, and my explanation for how it could stand up when we have all these other forces that don't want it to stand up is related to something else that I constantly tell people. When people come out and say, oh, they have rules. They have to tell you what they're doing. And they think that when you consent, that is their permission. No, they don't. No, they don't. You know who has rules? He has rules. Those are his rules. The Luciferians have one rule: win. One rule: win. He has rules. He forces them. He forces the Luciferians to give themselves up because he wants those lifelines of truth. He is sovereign. He is sovereign. He has allowed this disgusting system to exist to strengthen you, to make you strive for his truth, to challenge you, so that those of you who do grasp the truth, you are now protected. You are his, and you have learned from your challenges, from your trials, from your pain, from being under somebody's foot, from being bled in taxes, from going to war and realizing that it wasn't for you and it wasn't for freedom. You are learning, and those are his rules. And that's another one of his rules, is the truth remains mostly untarnished. At least what you need is there for you. Untarnished. What you need is there for you. And there may be little thing. Oh, David didn't really kill Goliath. It says that Elkanah killed Goliath. Okay, there's all kinds of nuance that you'll have to study based on scribal errors, and yet there's also amazing redundancy in the Bible to help fix those errors. Okay, so if you dig, you will find the truth. Here's the point. Here's the point. Here's the point. You got to want to. You got to want to. You got to want to. So a lot of people use this baloney excuse of, yeah, I tried to be a Christian, but there's books that are missing, and that Paul was fake. Jesus was a great guy, but that Paul, no, I don't want any of his letters and all of that. They're lying. They're being disingenuous. What is really going on is, that Christianity cramps my style. Christianity cramps my style. I like parties and porn and all that. And if I had to be a Christian, I got to walk away from that. I can't. I have to be disciplined and controlled, and I want to go out and have fun. I want to be like Bill Clinton all the time. Okay, I want to have a good time. I want to have a party. Okay, so I'll make up some baloney excuse and claim that I can't. I'm not. And just flaws and errors. No, you're just not digging deep enough because you have an ulterior motive. You have an ulterior motive, and you're not being honest with yourself, because that is the essence of Christianity, is self-examination, daily, hourly, sometimes, minute by minute, of being honest with yourself. As soon as you lie to yourself, you're lost. As soon as you lie to yourself, you're lost. That's number one. And number two, as soon as you lie to yourself, you're easy pickings for a machine that lies to you. That's why I say, as a Christian, I am uniquely qualified to be an investigative journalist, because I'm going to charge strong ahead regardless of what it costs me, regardless of whether or not it shakes my boat or rocks my world, because I'm not an idiot. The truth is the truth. And if I lie to myself about the truth, I'm only hurting myself. And I say this all the time. I liken you and I to guys running on the suicide train. And we're running down the aisles. We're telling people the bridge is out. The bridge is out. Okay? It doesn't do me any good to flip the paper back up. Look out the window, see the bridge is out, and then flip the newspaper back up and go back to reading the funnies, because the bridge is out. I'm only hurting myself by lying to myself. The bridge is not out. The bridge is not out. Yeah, it is. Right there. But there are people who cherish not having their boat rocked, who cherish their daily routine of whatever, and surfing porn and parties and drinking and sex and all that. I'm not saying no sex. I'm just saying discipline, control, and that turns them off. That turns them off. Self-control and discipline, by the way, the Protestant work ethic, okay, of sweat and focus and living for something bigger than you. That's what right values mean, of sacrifice. That's what love is. Love is not a feeling. Love is a conscious decision to sacrifice. So there's a lot of fraud and deceit out there. His rules are: you ask, he'll deliver the truth. You ask sincerely. Don't lie. Don't be wishy-washy about it. You ask him to give you the truth, and he'll give you the truth. Those are his rules. Okay? You bet that the system wants to muddy the waters at every chance they get. You bet. You bet. His rules are: there is always a ray of pure light, that if you want it, he'll give it to you. But you got to want it. You got to want it more than you want all those other things, like Christ said, Matthew 10. As a matter of fact, I had an AI discussion over this. Christ wasn't saying, hate your mother and father more than you love me. Christ was saying, prioritize me above everything else, and I will deliver everything else to you. He's not saying, I want you to hate your mother and father. He's saying, I want you to prioritize your focus on me. That's the only way, in sincerity. And if you love whatever this, and worse is, it's not right for you, it's not spiritually, morally, emotionally healthy for you to go out every weekend and have all these sexual conquests, whatever it is, then you're lying to yourself. And as soon as you lie to yourself, you're easy pickings. You're easy pickings. You're for the slaughter. And you made it. You put yourself in that situation. If you sincerely seek for truth, search for truth, and Jesus Christ, my perspective and his words, I am the way, the truth, and the life, John 14:6, you'll get it. He'll give it to you. His rules. His rules. You bet the machine, the Gnostic satanic machine, doesn't want you to have the truth, but it answers to him. It answers to him.
Okay.
Go ahead.
Question. Because you mentioned the Gnostics again, and this is something that we hear a lot about. It seems like, I'm trying to put into words here. If I'm not mistaken, the Gnostics were persecuted by, let me think here. Yeah. I mean, we're persecuted by the Catholic Church. I'm just trying to, and then also, well, I guess I'll just see if you have any comments on that. Again, I'm just trying to come at this from different angles here.
Kind of hard to persecute the Gnostics when that's what's running your religion.
Got it. Okay.
I've never heard of that. The Jesuits themselves are the ultimate Gnostics. The library at Alexandria did not burn down. It was put underground. Okay. They stole everything of value. They own all that. And all of that stuff is twisted. The Gnostic obsession with one eye. The Gnostic obsession. Mm-hmm. You know what that's about? That's about Satan being a watcher. Why is he a watcher? Because he has rules. Because his rules are, you can only watch unless you get consent. Oh, sound familiar? Consent. You can only watch unless you get consent. Part of his rules. The loyal angels, Hebrews 13, can appear to you and you wouldn't even know who they are and what they are, because they're loyal. They are the good guys. They're not going to harm you. They're only going to help you. I absolutely absurd of Gnosticism. Oh, Gnosticism. And here's the perfect example of this. The two heads on everything. The Russian flag has its roots in the inbreds, in the czars, which is rooted in the Catholic Church, Orthodoxy, and Catholicism. Why is everything on two heads? Gemini of, oh my goodness, what is the Roman god of two heads? Now, specifically, supposedly, two heads. Supposedly, the Janus. Supposedly, Janus is two heads looking back on death and winter and looking forward on spring and life. That's co-opted. What's really going on is deception. Deception. Whenever you see two heads, that is a warning flag. That is a red flag to let you know that one face is a face of fraud and lies for you. The other face is the face of the illumined ones. But it's always twisted. It's never pure truth. It's always twisted. It's always manipulated for the purpose of control. And I love to give to mention this. If anybody listens to me and says, wow, that guy's got a lot of inside information. Well, thank you. I believe I do. I believe I do. And you know what? I never had to get naked in a coffin and let my brother Roger me in the rear end, okay, as part of some sort of secret ritual that keeps me on the plantation. All I did was give my life to Jesus Christ. And I didn't. Now, that has been a lifetime of sacrifice, but very rewarding sacrifice. And I'm not anybody's pawn. I don't, oh my goodness, the number of Freemasons in war, the number of Freemasons. I've seen so many of these clowns doing their hidden hand picture portraits. Civil War, World War II. I just had a great artificial intelligence. I just had a great AI conversation about World War II and how the Freemasons, who were secretly controlled by the Jesuits, thoroughly controlled war to maximize the slaughter, maximize the bloodletting, maximize the making of money, and maximize more war to completely create. They completely created both the Nazis and the communists. And as proof of this, you've got secret keepers, Franklin Damnable Roosevelt, far left Freemason, was the guy in charge of the U.S. during the war. He commanded Ernie King. He commanded Douglas MacArthur. He commanded George Marshall. He commanded Omar Bradley. They were all secret keepers. They were all Freemasons. They all had a private chain of command outside of what was there. And when he died, who took over for him? Harry Poophead Truman. That's what S stands for. It stands for nothing. You just made it up. Harry Poophead Truman, a far left Freemason. Winston Churchill, a brother Freemason. And I actually had Grok. Repeatedly argue, no, that's a myth. No, and I've got like 4 archive sources from Freemasonic sources and still argue. So AI, there's no guarantee that you're going to get, especially if you're not paying. Oh my goodness, I was just enraged. Double down, triple down. Are you out of your mind? And I gave the sources. Usually when you give a source, the AI will, oh, okay, well, you got that source. Yeah, I'm sorry. No, not good. Out of your mind. A Freemason, a secret keeper, replaced by Attlee, a Freemason. Oh no, Attlee, that's just a myth. That's a legend. No. And I've got my AI showing me, nope, you're right, Johnny. There is overwhelming evidence that Attlee was purposefully picked as the far left Freemason to take over from the fraud that was Churchill, the phony right-wing rah-rah Freemason. And at 3 different events in Tehran, at Yalta, and Potsdam, all of these Freemasons handed Stalin half the world. How did we get the 34th parallel right after World War II to create the Korean War? They created it. They created it at Potsdam. They gifted half the world, including North Korea. That was part of the Potsdam agreement. Are you kidding me? And they got away with it. They should have been tried and given the full Jesuit trip, burned alive. Are you out of your mind of years of slaughter and maiming and horror? And you put us right in another war that you created? You created the Red Menace? You gifted them? You gifted that monster all his power? Guys like Henry Ford, guys like Brown Brothers and the Bush family, the Boner Bush family, gifted both sides. They controlled both sides. The Ford, it's the Jews, Henry Ford, his trucks carried supplies for both the Nazis and Stalin. Are you kidding me? Are you the foundation? And if there's one thing you know as you study war, it is the wars are nothing without logistics. Nothing without logistics. Oh, tanks and planes and guns. No, it's the trucks that bring you to the front that really make it happen. The foundation, Henry, it's the Jews Ford. All sides, his trucks. Okay. So, anyway, that, please wake up. There's so much more. There's so much more to the audience that y'all obviously know, because that's why you're here. So,
yeah,
we're over time. I'm sorry.
No, I'm really enjoying this. This is actually long overdue that we catch up and talk. As it pertains to these different conflicts and wars, and we touched on a number of different things. I think about, and I guess I want to articulate this right in that it from what I have gathered, again, this is my current impression, so to speak, is that the powers that be, whatever you want to call it, addressing the audience, that there are factions and that there's some infighting, because it would seem. I mean, I'm collecting my thoughts here, but basically, like I'm thinking what would be an example here. Okay, so let's say the Reformation, you had the 30 Years' War and things like that, following it, etc. You had the Catholic Church obviously dominated Europe, in religion. Obviously, Martin Luther, causing that whole schism, et cetera. And then we touched on this. Why I'm bringing this up. We touched on James I and Elizabeth, and wouldn't the Catholic Church not allow these people who are part of these bloodline families, who are all part integrated, connected, or is that part of the Hegelian dialectic, is to create problem solutions and kill people, or is this infighting? Just like I was referencing Fritz Springmeier, and I was reading last night, he was talking about how a lot of the U.S. presidents, again, I know you don't agree with him on everything, and I'm just reading him for what it's worth, they're derived from the Plantagenet line of the family, and I'm thinking, and I'm going off on a tangent here with some people in the audience are like, but I'm thinking of like the War of the Roses and these different conflicts, or just different wars and conflicts throughout history. I know we're focused on the UK stuff because that's where I feel like most of the history stuff is that we talk about in the US. But these are just these are these satanic Luciferian families fighting each other. But this is also fitting an agenda of killing people off, killing the prime, the cream of the crop talent, who would then have to go fight and fight these conflicts. I'm just trying to understand, though, too, if you have these Protestant forces fighting the Catholic forces, this is all the same thing with World War II, in the sense of people funding both sides, contractors, et cetera, financiers. They're all in the same club, but they're in opponent, but they're at odds with the Catholic Church, with the Jesuits. I hope I'm articulating it right.
Yeah, I will say that, first of all, Plantagenet. Fritz, come on, man. There's a bloodline that died out. The whole idea of, it's the Limeys. The Limeys are going to get you. The Limeys really control everything. No, Britain rose and fell with opium and the East India Opium Company. And oh, by the way, a book that I always recommend, highly recommend, after my 5 books, of course, is Rulers of Evil by Frederick Tupper Saussy. And Frederick Tupper Saussy owns the East India Company and Freemasonry, tying them to Rome and the Jesuits. You ask whether or not, by the way, he ties it in such a way in relation to how Rome divided up the world for Spain and Portugal, one of the 2 Catholic countries, the line of demarcation.
Tordesillas,
hugely important. And guess who wasn't included? the Protestant Dutch and the Protestant English. Guess who became power players? The Dutch East India Company and the East India Company. The Dutch and the English became power players because the Protestant nations were co-opted by Freemasonry and opium. And as soon as they were done that, when it gets to the wars of religion, there's only one word that properly describes the wars of religion: slaughter. That's the Roman Catholic Church slaughtering Christians. Slaughtering Christians. The Roman Catholic Church slaughtering Christians. The Huguenots. Look into Catherine de' Medici, the Queen of France. The Queen of France? How is she the Queen of France when she was Italian, Catholic? Oh, because they're all a bunch of inbreds. They're all marrying each other, their brother and their sister, and they brought her over from Italy. And the St. Bartholomew's Day battle, the St. Bartholomew's Day War? No, the St. Bartholomew's Day Massacre, where she suckered in the Christians of France, the Huguenots, Protestants, they're just real Christians, and mass murdered them. And the entire Catholic populace, they closed in Paris for the wedding of good King Henry of Navarre, who willfully gave up being a Christian to come back to the Catholic Church so he could sit on the throne. And what did he get for his trouble? He was assassinated by a Catholic monk. The word that best describes wars of religion is slaughter. And oh, by the way, they didn't just mass murder the French Christians on St. Bartholomew's Day. They pursued them as they ran to America, and Spaniards murdered French Christians, Huguenots in Florida. Insane, insane. The word that describes wars of religion is slaughter. The Catholic Church slaughtering Mary, that Mary, right? Hey, let's go drink and I'll have a Bloody Mary. Do you know what you're doing? You are honoring the vicious Catholic daughter of Henry VIII, mass murdering 300 men, women, and children simply because they were Christians. Simply because they were Christians. And we will, it's the Jews. Who owns culture to the point where you honor one of the most bloodiest reptilian women to ever have power, who mass murdered Christians simply because they were Christians? I mean, tortured, burned alive simply because they were Christians. And she was beside herself that she had to wait to murder Jane Grey to steal the throne back from Edward VI, also murdered, by the way. So, why? Okay, well, this is just a Hegelian Catholic versus Protestant Hegelian. No. What happened was the Catholic Church buried Christianity for 1,000 years by dominating and controlling the Word of God. By dominating and controlling the Bible, the Word of God, dominating it, put it underground for 1,000 years, and controlled Christians by their ignorance and what they didn't know. Purgatory, confessional, pray to Mary, pray to angels, pray to saints, all those things. Hebrews alone, the book of Hebrews alone destroys Catholicism. Okay, that's why they couldn't allow it. That's why they kept it in Latin, and only priests were allowed to see the Bible. What forced their hand? They didn't pick. And by the way, they may have picked Luther because Luther was the lesser of evils. There were much better guys to be the name and the face of the Reformation of Christianity, guys like Andreas von Karlstadt. But they picked Luther because Luther was basically a good guy, basically wanted the power of truth, but was kind of a bit of a coward, and so allowed himself to take sides when it comes to feudalism, the aristocracy. Luther was thoroughly kowtowed to the aristocracy and betrayed the peasantry, particularly in the 1525 Peasants' Revolt. Encouraged the elite to mass murder the peasants. Really disgusting, really despicable. But he was sincere about the truth. And here's what called the hand of the Catholic Church. They didn't have a choice because of technology. They didn't have a choice because of technology. The movable type printing press. For 1,000 years, they burned Bibles or they allowed them in Latin. They did not allow them in the vulgar tongue. And for 1,000 years, and with the advent of the movable type printing press, now all of a sudden, you got Bibles being printed up faster than you can burn them. And now you've got to deal with the truth. Now you've got trouble. What did they do? They created an alternate reality of insane lies to flip science and history to mock the Bible. That's a whole nother show. That's a whole nother show. Science is not science. Science is pseudoscience. Astronomy and dinosaurs and deep space and all that. Insane. Insane. None of it. Viruses, dinosaurs, deep space, none of it is observable, testable, repeatable. None of it. That's real science, the scientific method. Observable, testable, repeatable. Evolution, none of it is observable, testable, repeatable. None of it uses scientific method. And science teaches this like it's fact and requires that your children be indoctrinated. That's what doctor means. Docere has nothing to do with healing. It means to be propagandized. Okay? Whole nother show. We're over time. It's a whole nother show.
We have to definitely do that. Now, you mentioned on the reptilian thing, and just to preface with the audience, again, I never thought, I had heard of this stuff years ago, but I never investigated it or tried to understand it, et cetera. And it's something that obviously I think most of us tune in, especially if you're tuning in at this point in time. We've all seen it on X and on different platforms. You see it so much. I have been shocked, as I conveyed to Johnny offline, how even people that I would not expect to hear that from are referencing it. I've heard it from whistleblowers. There is presumably, a lot of historical reference to that. Johnny, I'd love to hear your take as it relates to this.
Sure. It has staying power because there is a grain of truth to the accusation. My take on this is that the concept of a humanoid reptile species secretly ruling the world, that's a distraction. That's a distraction. But the kernel of truth that is there is based on the process of becoming an elite. To become an elite in a system that is gated with evil, with heinous, insane evil. What do you mean, Johnny, gated by evil? The system is run by cowards, evil, and in order to be one of them, you have to be evil like them. You have to make a willful decision to quench your divine spark. Okay, this is Johnny's paradigm. Johnny's just answering a question here. Johnny's paradigm is what I told you earlier. The essence of love, as Jesus said, is sacrifice. The essence, personal sacrifice, not go kill somebody else, your own sacrifice. You sacrifice. It's a mental decision to give. It is a mental, conscious decision to give. That's the essence of love and compassion and empathy. And love is the divine spark. Compassion is part of that. Empathy is part of that. That is power. That is real power. A satanic system rules the world and requires you to be the inverse of that. The inverse, rather than compassion and empathy rules your decision-making process, it's the opposite. You become a sociopath. You become dysfunctional. You make a mental decision to harm others. You are told to join our club, kill a puppy, kill a kitten, kill a baby, eat a baby, rape a little boy. You have to take the innocent and the vulnerable and cause it pain, cause it harm. That's the system. In order to do that, you have to become inhuman. You have to make a conscious decision to quench your divine spark, to get rid of your empathy and your compassion and your love and become a demon and to become something inhuman. That is the kernel of truth to the whole reptilian. They're not a reptile species. They are human beings who have willed themselves out of their humanity. And for all I know, there may be some kind of weird spiritual physical manifestations in that. There may be some kind of, eyes are slits. I don't know. I will tell you that the genesis of that, the basis of that, is that individual's decision to be inhuman, to get rid of their compassion, their empathy, and their God divine spark for their own advancement and aggrandizement. That's the grain, the kernel of truth in the reptilian agenda, as far as I'm concerned.
Noted. Wow. Well, we covered so much. There's a million and one things. I need to have you on more often. I tell you that because I'm still just trying to understand here in different iteration, different viewpoints on things. So I guess we'll just wrap this up unless there's anything else you wanted to share. Johnny, how can people learn more about you as well as get in touch?
Sure. Yeah. Johnny at johnnycirucci.com is my email that is horribly abused by trolls. But I'm thrilled to make myself accessible to my audience, to have relationships with my audience, to have fans come and visit me from Croatia. Good guy, by the way. Marco from Croatia, not Marco from Tropoja. Good guy. I had a good time. And johnnycirucci.com, JOHNNYCIRUCCI.com is my website. I maintain video hubs on, I now have a YouTube number 6. We're giving YouTube a 6th try. So it's a fledgling channel. There's only a few vids up there. And obviously so my analytics are like non-existent. I cope with that. Not that I suck at what I do, but that I'm over the target and they don't want me to have a lot of, you make your own decision. You listen to me, you look at me. All right, that guy's got 10 views. Okay. Either because 1, I suck at what I do, or 2, maybe I'm over the target and they don't want me to have more than 10 views, or I have more than 10 views and that's what they're writing. Anyway, so I have a YouTube number 6. The majority of my work, my vid work, is on a very dysfunctional platform called Odyssey. And I maintain a Rumble and maintain a BitChute. So you can find me on those platforms, either Johnny Cirucci or Resistance Rising. However, there are impersonators. There is a Johnny Cirucci C1 on Rumble that steals my material, uploads it, and then asks for donations to go to a fake PayPal account. So go to Johnny's. If you want to support me, 100%, nothing I have is paywalled, 100% free will offerings. Go to johnnycirucci.com, go to the support tab, the menu, the support button on the far right on my menu button, and use my links for PayPal, Vatican, Venmo. And I have merch and I have books. I have 5 books so far, all available on Amazon. Illuminati Unmasked, which my beloved brother showed to you. Secret History, my redheaded stepchild's the prequel. I really love that book. Eaters of Children, Romans of Mass Destruction, and Disciples of Ra, about vaccines and viruses and the medical fraud, is my 5th book. And all of those are all over the internet. Really, just type it in, and people, this is given my. So if you go on Amazon and you want a hard copy, like Christian, thank you. That helps me. But it's a trickle. I have to go through Amazon. The merch is just, I think, like $11 a month with the merch proceeds. But really, it's the donations and the book proceeds that really help me the most. So that's my points of contact. Those.
Awesome. And I want to mention, you mentioned about being censored, being shadowed. I'll just comment in that. I have found that the bigger the audience, the more likely that person's controlled or completely off target. I mean, 100%. And so I think it's a blessing. I think, to me, I'll just say, to me, that's a sign that you are over the target. Whether or not it's 100% or 90% or what have you, you're much more on the target, I think, than a lot of these people. Again, I think of these credentialed people with PhDs, this or that. I mean, I just laugh. I laugh when I say I'm a geopolitical analyst. You're not a fucking geopolitical analyst. You're not a fucking, I know I'm cussing. I normally don't cuss. Geopolitical analyst. You don't know what the hell you're talking about. I mean, it's crazy to me.
Well, and it honestly, and that's part of being a cynic. That's part of questioning, is you gotta know that this machine owns everything. The machine owns, oh, well, I tell you, Google's birthday, 27th. Oh, it's the Jews, right? It's the Jews. The machine owns everything. So when you see alternative media that is super popular, what do you think? Do you think they're sincerely flipping off the CIA? Do you think they're out there for you? Do you think they're being brave, charging ahead? Or do you think they are created to give you half-truths of distraction? What makes more sense? Okay? Either the machine really, now, the only thing I add to that is it's not all powerful. It's extremely powerful. It's not all powerful. So just understand that, yes, these people are popular for a reason. These people are being artificially inflated and gifted to you as distractions. And as far as Johnny Cirucci being full of poop or Johnny Cirucci telling the truth, that's the intent of how I write my books. 800-page books with 1,000 or more citations. My goal is to give you guys, I give you the names, places, and dates. You, to the best of your ability, validate anything I've said or call me a liar and see what you're. And unfortunately, it's a lot harder now to look things up. A lot of my sources gone, disappeared. But if you dig hard enough, you'll find them. And by the way, if you need help with any of my citations or my sources, feel free to get in touch with me and I'll give you what I have.
Johnny, really appreciate your time, and I appreciate what you do, and I try and share that with people that put themselves out there, that are willing to have these dialogues.
Christian, I love and appreciate you, man. I honestly, I do consider you an honest and sincere journalist and truth seeker, and that's why I'm thrilled to repeatedly come back and be a guest with you. I'm thrilled to have private conversations with you and call you a friend, because that's my definition of a friend, is not someone that you just do shows with, but someone that you talk to offline as well. And again, let me encourage you, brother. There's no such thing as silly or an area that you shouldn't be. That's your job, is to ask questions and to investigate. So you're doing a great job at it. And I kind of told you, maybe you're not plateauing. You were worried months ago. Oh man, I've seen it all. I've done it all. I'm done. I'm out. I'm out. Drop the mic. There's still more. There's still more. There's still digging to be done. So glad you're still on it, brother.
Well, you know what's funny is, and this is after hours now, even though we're recording here, is I actually thought about pulling the plug on the show and just going completely dark, YouTube, Spotify, because just to make a long story short, I just thought, you know what, maybe this isn't the best thing to do. And I was very close, actually, 2 weeks ago. I have not shared this publicly. I'm not joking, straight up. I was even sharing it with some people close to me. I was thinking about just completely pulling the plug. No one's aware, but I guess here I am.
Well, you can't untake the red pill. You can't spit it back up. You can't be, who was that? Was that, oh my goodness, oh my goodness, Italian Catholic actor who played Cypher, Matrix, the Italian Roman Catholic, the guy that betrayed everything, Giuseppe Pantoliano, Joseph, right? You can't go back into the Matrix once you take the red pill. Once you take the red pill, you can't go back. And I understand if you get overwhelmed. I understand that you're overwhelmed. I understand that you feel hopeless at times. But that's where your worldview is critical. That's where your worldview is critical. My worldview as a born-again Christian is, I read the end of the book and we win. We win. And even now, as bad as things are now, I feel like as long as I stay true to him, which includes self-discipline, self-control, keeping things reined in, as long as I'm doing right by him, he will absolutely thoroughly protect me and what I do. And so that's why, dude, you're you're poking the dragon in the eye. What are you doing? You're stupid. Are you kidding me? I'm doing it because I have a passion for truth. And I feel that as long as I keep myself in check, he'll have my back. And so far, so good. One day at a time. One day at a time. Okay. So don't be overwhelmed. And it really is about your worldview. You may need to step back. Like I'm stepping back, but I'm stepping back to right. And so everybody's going to have a cycle. Everybody's going to have a cycle of change in their life. Nothing is the same. As a matter of fact, the guys that say and do the same thing day after day, week after week, year after year, they're reading a script. Okay, they're reading a script. Guys that don't change, guys that do change, guys that grow. People, I'm saying guys, people that change and grow. That's a good, healthy sign. So, but I'll tell you, man. There's still a lot more to do. Still a lot more to do. And I'm here for you anytime.
Absolutely. Awesome. All right. Well, you be well. Take care. Thank you.
All right, brother. Appreciate you.